This conference will now be recorded.
Hello and welcome everyone to the first podcast for Market Making Strategies. This has been requested. I know a lot of you are new within our community and don't really know what we look like and want to put a name to a face. We have many members who have came and traveled with us and have been members with us for a long time, have experience on site with us, and have had that personal relationship with us for many years now. But there's many new people in the room, and we just wanted to do a first podcast as an introduction, just to really get the gears going for MMS and these first courses to come. Um, so we have Milan Patel and Doug Patel here. Both are family members, and myself, David Torres. So we all three of us have came from a previous community. And I'll let them elaborate a little bit more on their trading experience. But we have known each other for many years now. Me and Doug go back pre-COVID days of tape reading. So I would like to allow them to be able to introduce themselves. We'll start with Doug. If you would like to just introduce yourself a little bit on your trading experience, your professional background, maybe a little bit, well, how we met, where we started, and just building that foundation, and then we'll jump over to Millen.
Absolutely. Thanks, Dave. Appreciate that intro. So it's an interesting journey for me. I just a quick background. I'm born and raised in London. Been living here since about 2000, and I myself have come from an entrepreneurial background. So my family back in London was into laundromats, which is basically laundrettes and real estate. So I've come from a very, very business orientated, very disciplined religious background. Moved to America. My father got into the hotel industry in Miami, and I grew up in a motel. Our family lived together. We ran the motel together, and during that time, and as I was going through university, I was in the motel business. And at the age of 25, so I graduated my master's at 22 years old in my MBA, and then at 25, I bought my first property, and I did that with, we created a business plan, me and my friend at the time, and we bought this property. Now, the interesting part was this was back in 2008. Summer 2008 is when I closed. I closed that property July 2008, right before the housing crash happened. And I paid a very high price. I'll never forget, $4.2 million. The property required a lot of work. And the second we closed, we knew if it did not do the top numbers, it wouldn't be easy to manage this property. Well, lo and behold, I got my first, most pivotal, most important lesson in life was learning how to get through tough times. And for 6 years, my only goal was to learn the best way. How do I mitigate tough times? How do I manage hard times? What I did learn in that time, Dave, was there's so much at that moment that I thought at a young age I was out of my control. Like I couldn't do anything about the way the economy went. I couldn't do what had happened and how the housing crash and financing and lack of funds and capital going around. So that's where I started off and built up my hotel portfolio. And it was in 2014 that I'd finally sold that first property. And when I sold that property, at the same time, I had a couple of other properties which I was able to sell. And now I had a lot of free time. So I was like, right, what do I do now? And I remember distinctly at that time thinking, and that was, like I said, 2014, so about 11 years ago. And I remember thinking at that time, I was like, I really would like to learn an industry or a career where it's really my control. That was so big for me. It was like, I always had this thing when I was young that in essence, I want to control, or as much as I can, my fate, allow the process to be in my hands. That was so important to me. And I was always just like, all right, I get into business at 25. And my first experience, which by the way is my best experience, was saving a property, not being able to learn, develop, progress, and scale. But I learned first how to mitigate tough times, which is brilliant. But at the same time, I learned I want to be able to have far more control over my abilities, over my efforts to then reach and navigate towards the outcome. Hence, 2014, my brother-in-law out of nowhere said, "Hey, guess what?" And I said, "What?" He goes, "Do you know anything about the stock market?" And I was like, "To be honest, I don't. I know nothing about it. I come from a real estate background, hardworking family, and that's what I know. I know you work extremely hard, and then in due time, it will pay off. That's what I was taught." But I said, all right, let's try this because I'm looking to do something that I can fully control and that's in my hands. He had signed up for a company in New York. Don't want to mention no names, but it was a company in Long Island, and he got a contract, a very good contract to work for a big company. I don't remember which one it was at the time. And his background's IT. So he goes, listen, I've paid a few $1,000s here. How about you take over and see if it's something that will spark some interest for you? I said, you know what? I'll do it. So I started that, and it was tape reading. It was day trading backed through tape reading. Now, in all sincerity and honesty, because this, the one thing I always do, I'm a huge proponent of, is being honest. And the honest truth was, it was a rough few years because they weren't really teaching what they say they were teaching, and I don't believe they didn't really know. And I can say that now, being a master tape reader, in essence, what they were talking about, just to be completely honest. But sometimes when the toughest situations come our way, we end up meeting someone or something that changes everything later on. So we have to open up every experience with open arms because there's always a lesson to be learned. And guess what mine was? That's where I met my mentor. That's where I met Rich Lepis. Rich Lepis was my mentor, and he was at the time of this school a senior teacher. And I really, really loved the way he was teaching. I loved the way he was looking at the market. And so when he went off and started his own company, a couple of years afterwards, I joined him. And a few of us left and joined him. And I just really enjoyed the way he taught. I enjoyed the way he understood the market and the concepts he created. So it was very good. And I literally fell in love with it. And I think that's what the difference was, is it wasn't more so I'm here and all I care about is I just want to make a lot of money, although that was certainly pertinent at the time. But I spent the time and went through the hard work, did everything that was required, and really submerged myself into the process. And so that's kind of how it started for me 11 years ago in tape reading. And I've been tape reading for 11 years now. And that's just a little bit about me, which I'll talk more upon as you ask questions. But that's how I came to be to here, to get to this level.
Yeah, and a little more context there. That's where I met Doug, was within ATC. So sorry, I'm skipping over you a little bit, Millen, but we'll touch base. I think it flows very naturally here into where me and Doug met, as since you guys are family members. So me and Doug met within ATC. This is a community. I really don't even recall how I fell into ATC. All I remember was that was my first introduction to trading. I was in university at the time, so I was, really got introduced within school. For me, I was in portfolio management courses, doing long-term, analysis, CFA stuff, going to Wall Street, doing things like that. So I was really into the long-term management side of things, but I also got introduced to the day trading side of things pretty uniquely. I think it was more of an accident than anything. And I was kind of introduced to tape reading, and then I just saw how it was ahead of the charts, ATC, how Rich was always anticipating trades. I thought that was very unique. He was never reacting. He was always before. He was always giving us an indication that the chart is always created, from the tape, and it is. He would always, identify market makers or strategies, how they're accumulating, and what their price targets are, and just being a follower. That is one of the most unique approaches that I've ever seen. Even when it came to the university side of things, from the portfolio management of millions of dollars, you'd think there'd be such a streamlined approach of following a strong money. But in reality, it's you have all these indication of numbers, you have all these key metrics that you need to identify. You need to identify, there's so many characteristics you need to go into and dive into that can ultimately be endless. And then I found this one approach where it's like, this is, you identify what they're accomplishing in terms of accumulation or distribution on the short side of things. And then you just simply create a game plan, a price target based upon what they're doing, and you follow. It is the most simplified process. It's not easy by any means, but it is the most simplified process. And you're truly being a follower of these hedge funds, these institutions, these trading desks that are truly, have almost unlimited funds to create the plays that they want. But yeah, that's where I kind of got into introduction with Doug. I ended up being a student with ATC and with Rich. and I was there for a good year. And then, I think being one of the top students, picking it up very quickly, I was really diving deep into this. Even we had on-sites, we had on-sites at Doug's hotels, and from there, just spending late nights talking about, setups, trading, and just diving in deep into the market makers and the tape itself. And then from there, I really got opportunity to work for Rich, helping manage his community, doing some more technical development on the back end of indicators, websites, customer management, and streamlining a lot of processes, doing some social media management, a lot of everything truly. But, a lot of it was being there and assisting, and he was teaching me behind the scenes of, very complex setups and things like that. So that's kind of where me and Doug first got introduced, and from there we just really started collaborating. And it's funny, even early then, we were always talking about, the future and what the future had. We knew we were going to do something just because we knew how advanced we were taking tape reading, and we were talking about setups consistently, before they even exploded or had great trade within it. It was just consistent, stock talk about the tape and market makers, and then these stocks were just making massive runs, and we were anticipating and creating game plans. Like, it was just an average conversation, and we knew that was special, and we knew we wanted to do something with that. And lo and behold, we're here with market making strategies. I don't think we really anticipated it to go like this, but I'm real excited. I know you guys are excited about what's to come. If you have anything to add on that, Doug?
I do, actually, and nicely put there, Dave. And that's right, Dave. We've me and you have been known each other for, my word, maybe 6-7 years at this point, right?
Yeah.
So there's something really interesting that you said that I want to touch upon. Is the high level of interest and how much me and you truly loved what tape reading was, and how we, when I first came into it, you got to remember at this point, when Rich was working for his former company, he had thousands of students that went by him, thousands, because he was there for a long time. You got to remember, Rich was doing this from a very early age, and so I remember we became very good friends. I would go to New York, and we would have long conversations over dinner, and I will never forget this, Dave. About 8 years ago. Now you're talking, I was only 3 years into my trading, and let me just be completely honest. I was not disciplined. I was not doing the right things, and I was at the time consistently not seeing the results or outcome that I wanted. And that was, two things were going on. One, I thought I was far too smart for the market because I came from an entrepreneurial background, did very well, was successful, and figured, how can I be successful in one area and not another? But one thing I never did is I never ever got away from understanding that to truly be great at anything you want to do, you have to fall in love with the process. You have to fall in love with what you're seeing. You have to fall in love with the effort and commitment it takes for market makers to deliver these results, to deliver these setups on a consistent basis. So when you look at the frame of mind that I was in and the mindset that I had, it was very, very, very attractive to Rich. And we became very good friends. And I'll never forget this day, 7 years ago in Manhattan, across from Madison Square Garden. And he was about to go back home to Long Island. And he goes to me, you know something? And I was like, what? And this is literally as he's parting ways. And I'll never forget this day. He goes, you're going to overtake me as a trader. I know this already. And I said, I'm only 3 years in and I'm not even consistent. And he goes, nah, you're going to overtake me. He goes, I know this. And he goes, it's exciting and it's scary to know that you've just started, but I know where you're going to go. And he told me something. He goes, the way you ask questions, because by the way, just as you did, Dave, with Rich, and you did with me for many years, you always, as I did, asked questions, the right questions, the questions pertaining to progress, questions pertaining to understanding the intricacies of what's going on. We were just really, really mindful, and we loved what we did. And so I was back then, I was like, okay, that's a big burden and weight to carry when one of the greatest traders that greatest tape readers that says, you're going to overtake me, and you're going to take my understanding and what I've developed, and I got a feeling you're going to take it to a different stage. And I said, well, and I remember telling him this that day, and I said, do you mind if I ask you a question? And this is only 3 years in. how many students have come your way and that you've had a touch point with? And he goes, it's thousands, 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 thousands. So I said, what's the difference? And he goes, your questions are the difference. He goes, you have so much going on in your life. Because at the time, David, you remember, I was working front desk in a motel. I was running 3 to 4 hotels. I was literally waking up at 5 in the morning, working endlessly to 10, 11 at night. I was traveling midweek from Miami to Gainesville, which is 5.5 hours, just to go run properties, renovate properties. And yet on my way down, I am thinking about trading. I'm watching my videos. I'm looking at my notes. I am so focused and so in love and passionate about trading, even from an early age. There was only one means to an end for me. And I told Rich at the time, so you're telling me there's thousands and thousands of students, and yet I'm the one that has just propelled to a different level. And he goes, yes, you have. And he goes, I think this is just your calling. He goes, I think this is where you're going to find your love and passion and where you're going to be great at. And I said, so then there's only one thing that I must make sure I do after hearing what you're saying, because one thing from a young age for me was I really want to make impact. I really want to help people. I want to help people to find their passion, free their time, help the people they love, let's be honest, make a lot of money so they can live a great life. So I said, maybe it's the communication that we might need to work on, or that's what I started thinking. And then I was thinking, how do we do it so that everybody has a fighting chance of learning the system? And I think early on, Dave, that's what me and you kept talking about relentlessly, was how do we develop this? And I remember you telling me, like, Doug, you got to come up with this understanding and a format that is easily acceptable by everybody, because it's not the way that it was being taught was very understood by me, very understood by you, but we also knew among our conversations, this isn't easy. This is very tough.
Yeah, and I think now that we talk about it, I almost think I was kind of your beta number one student, really, when it came down to it, because you were in the process of finding that stride for success there, and taking Rich's tape reading topics, but also putting your own understanding to it, and taking it to a different level. And I was also studying a lot from Rich, but I got to the point where I kind of taught me everything I needed to know, and it was up to me to implement that and take it to that next level. And through that process, we connected a lot, pretty much on a daily basis, communicating how to make this process easier, because when it comes to day trading and tape reading, it's no easy stretch at all.
No.
You have to be absolutely 100% invested in that. It's not a thing you come for an hour and have success. You have to, every moment of every day, have to be full into this process. And that's why we it really jumped into the foundation of why we created an MMS, but we'll touch upon that in a little bit. But ultimately, I did feel like I was your beta student, and you did spend a good year and a half probably teaching for free, and ultimately
3 years.
Was it 3 years?
3 years. And that conversation, if you remember, started because at the time you were with Rich. And I remember Rich calling me and he goes, listen, we need to do a very advanced high level course. And he goes, how about you start introducing some of the stuff you've been telling me about how you think is a better way to communicate the understanding. That's where I started talking to him and developing about the different phases of trading, breaking down phase 1, money time, phase 2, build, and then phase 3. And what I remember telling him is, if you're telling them how to trade per minute, it was very difficult. But if you break down the story to 2 or 3 phases, that allows you to compartmentalize what the strategy in between is. So you got your strategy for the trade, and then that's broken down into the phases: the build phase, the money time, which basically means they've done enough building and they go to that level. So I taught that for 3 years for free. But the reason I taught that, and you're absolutely right, was I wanted to see how and test all my different theories and methods to find the one that I know a lot of people could benefit from. And that's exactly how I created the option strategy, which is my unique strategy. I created that, took 11 years. And before we go on to the last thing, it's something that I really want to communicate. And this goes back to something that we all inherently have. And that is, we are all born with this default emotional resilience called fear. And fear was designed to protect you. So when people hear this statistical line, it scares them a lot, which is this: over 90% of traders, I don't care if you're day trading, I don't care if you're technical analysis, option swing, futures, forex, it doesn't matter what you're doing, but over 90% fail. They consistently don't win. But that failure doesn't just mean that they're still trading and losing money. It means that they stop, they don't want to do it no more. When I heard that stat, and me and you talked about this years ago, Dave, on the on-site, I said, I have to learn this, because if you're telling me that over 90% of people commit to giving less than 10% money every single day, I need to know that. That's fireproof. That's an economy that doesn't break, that will sustain no matter what. And that to me was more of a reason to learn trading than to fear trading. So I wanted to just get some emotional context into there as well. And with that being said, Milan, how about you chime in a bit, because you're sitting there. I don't want you falling asleep.
Yeah, yeah. Hello everyone. My name is Milan Patel. Glad to be here. I'm born and raised in Miami, Florida. A bit of my background, how I got introduced to trading. Similarly to Doug, my family's in the hospitality business. Born and raised in a motel in Miami, and went through the business tracking in university, and was working in corporate real estate for some time. And over the years, I've been under Doug's wing for a long, long time, and a few conversations led us to the path of trading, the discussion of trading, and I was just completely unhappy working for someone else, unsure where I was going directionally for career wise. And Doug, he kept it 100% transparent with me. He's like, Millen, well, I can't give you advice on working for someone else. I never have. The ball's been in my court, whether it be in my hotel businesses, and now I'm a very successful trader. So he told me that if I followed the trading, was passionate about it, he could really condense the time for me. And once I got introduced to ATC and Rich, I just fell in love. I think I've always had interest in economics and finance, and the market was honestly just the pinnacle of finance. Traders, high finance, hedge funds. It was just super interesting to me. And when we started discussing about market makers psychology, it just made so much sense. It humanized the market. And I was like, you're telling me that there's people who have their hands in the market, pulling the strings day in, day out, and no one knows about this, and they can be seen and they can be learned and studied from, and you can just follow them. I was like, okay, this is completely where I want to be. And I knew I had the aptitude and the capacity to learn it, but I didn't know how challenging trading would actually be. That whatever successful things you've done in your previous life or your past do not directly translate over to trading or success in trading. It was completely different. I kind of view it as being an athlete. I've never been athletic, but I had a lot of friends who were athletes. That you have the natural skill, but you have to develop that skill day in, day out. You have to go to practice, put in the work, face the challenges of competing against better people than you day in, day out. And at the end of the day, the only thing that's keeping you there is, you want to be the best. So that's kind of a nice analogy to kind of my approach and my journey with trading. And I'm still in my student phase. I'm still here within MMS to be the best trader I can be. I want to be better than Doug and David. So that's my passion. I want to be a full-time day trading. Day trading is my passion. Seeing market makers control a stock in a given moment, hold the level, and make money and get out that day. That's just beautiful to me. So that's a bit about what kind of attracted me to trading and why I'm here.
Brilliant.
Yeah, nice one, Millen. And it's gonna be really nice, having us three. Obviously we're owners. I think we all, really have our strategic skill set, and we're all gonna really work closely together to really create a grand vision for market making strategies. I was in Millen's situation, years ago with ATC, so it's nice to be able to mentor someone now, kind of guide Millen through that process as well, where I was, because it's exceptional to be able to be learning and working behind the scenes as well. I think it's ultimately the best way to learn tape reading. But transitioning a little bit into what the vision is for market making strategies, when you guys want to jump on that, we kind of talked about the past and where we came from, tape reading, following market makers. What's our overall vision for market making strategy? If someone joins the room and they have a question, what's the goal here? What's the vision here? This is a free room. There's nobody charging anything, and I'm getting all this material for free. What is the goal? What is the vision here for MMS?
So let me touch on that. So just to anybody who's new to this and who's trying to figure out, exactly how we all fit in to this totem pole. I am now a master tape reader. I've been doing this for 11 years. Created this option strategy, which I personally have been using now for about 5 years, and I've been cleaning it up and making sure that I referenced it and tested it and back tested it many, many, many times, and not just the same setups, but improving on it, seeing how we can improve on it, and through different environments. We got to know when the markets are very strong, when the markets are weak. We got to be able to trade through all weather. That was the key for market making strategies. One of them was we aren't coming live until we're able to create a system and develop a system that can be used through and through. So I have been doing this for 11 years. David basically was my student. I took him under my wing, and he resonated to me very, very much just because of his commitment to this. I mean, I'm going to mention this, David, because it just sticks out to me so much, so just wouldn't be fair not to. When Dave is from very high level education, had the ability to get a high six-figure position out of university, went to New York, decided right then and there to tell the interviewer that, well, thank you, but you've just capped my value, and now I know where my value stands. But one thing I loved and resonated with Dave, and I knew that this was something that he would become, is he had no televisions. He stopped everything in life to focus full-time commitment to trading. And that to me was a blessing, because then it made me realize there are those out there who truly want to change what their future looks like, who truly want to make the most out of their life and their day, and be able to buy back their time, be able to travel, be able to do other things, spend time with his wife, his family. Big family man, right, Dave? And so when it came to market making strategies, Dave would have been my first student, and then Milan being my little cousin, obviously I brought him in. And the one thing I love about the success that I've gained from trading, and we're going to talk about that for a minute. Yes, everybody knows I feel that the best way to achieve is not speaking about the outcome, because we don't have control over that. We don't have control over the process that we take. But we are going to speak about the outcome, because at the end of the day, you want to see how it looks like at the other end, right? That light at the end of the tunnel. What does that look like for you, Doug? What does that look like for you, Dave? What does it look like for you, Milan? Now, remember, Milan's successful, but he's also not been doing this very long. So he's learning a lot of things. And so, put it this way, next month, March 24th, I'm flying to Rome for a week. Then I'm flying back home to London, where I also have property, have another house. Through trading, I've been able to see the world. I travel 2-3 times a year to a new country. When I travel there, I have the option, pull out my laptop. If the weather's nice and beautiful and I've got scenery, I might trade. But the reality of trading is you can achieve more than most people can dream of in a matter of 10 minutes, half an hour, an hour. If you have my option strategy, once you set it and you're following the prints, you can do what you want. You can go out to the park, you can play with your children, spend time with your mum, spend time with your dad, whatever you want to do. Really, really enjoy this life and make the most of it and maximize it. You can get to buy back your time, you get to travel, you get to do so much, and yet you do this correctly, there's no limit to what you can earn. And that, on a business sense, for you to scale a business. So for instance, if we looked at a brick and mortar, right, Dave? Let's say that I opened a sandwich shop, and my sandwich shop was making me $75,000 profit a year, and it took me 3 years to get there, right? To scale it, stabilize it, and now see a stabilized profit. If I want to scale that, that means that I need to open another shop, and then another shop, and then another shop. So for me to take 75,000 and Dave and me sit down and say, right, we want to make 750,000. What does that mean, Dave? We need 10 shops. And that means we need to stabilize and scale. Well, what are we looking at? 10, 12, 15 years, 20 years, who knows? What I love about day trading, what I love about our option strategy, is that the scale is taking more shares or buying more contracts once you've learnt the system, once you've understood your percentages, because that's the only language you should be speaking about as a trader, is your percentages. You can scale that the next morning. You can scale that the next week, day, whenever you want. Today I'm taking 10 contracts. A year from now, you might be taking 100 contracts. That just 10x'd your ability to earn. So I just love the fact there's no limit to what you can do, one, with how much you can earn and how much time you can buy back. And to me, that is a very massive draw to day trading, to options trading. What is the beauty about our method? As Millen touched upon, we are followers. We follow those who are tasked with controlling the outcome of a stock for a moment, a minute, an hour, a day, weeks, or months. And we can plug ourselves in to follow that, whether it's a day trade or an options trade. And that is what we teach. I show you transparently exactly how those prints work. And if I'm not mistaken, Dave, since our inception in October of 2024, this being recorded now in February 2025, I mean, we've probably had 6 or 7 call outs based upon prints we saw in day trading. Every single one met and exceeded all of the price targets that the prints told us they would reach, to a point where we've had 15, 20, 25x in matter of months in positions. And I'll name a few from you as if you're watching this: OKLO, DJT, HIMS, IONQ. The list goes on. And these were companies that nobody even heard of, because we don't care at the time about the companies. We care about the volume and the money coming in. And that truly is what changes and moves a stock, is the ability of a market maker to come in and show his presence. They control the outcome for a certain period of time. And that was the draw. And the draw for market making strategies was, now how do we effectively be able to teach far more people? And before we move on, this is just something that plays in my mind daily. And this is what makes me work harder and harder and harder to make sure I put together and provide a brilliant and absolute, I put hundreds of hours basically into this at this point, is when I had a 21-year-old student, I will not mention the name. He has come under our wing, Dave, you know who I'm talking about, as a day trader a year and a half ago. I think he was 18, 19, and we never met in one site. Won't mention his name. I got a DM from him in December, not even 2 months after our inception. And he goes, Doug, through your calls, and I followed you in the options, I made $8,333. And I said, that is absolutely brilliant. And he goes, and my second position is already at 6,000. And he goes, I come from humble beginnings. I'm going to be able to help my family take care of rent, take care of mortgage, whatever it may be. And he goes, thank you so much. And I said, no, thank yourself. You put in the work, and I've seen you relentlessly commit to what's required. And I told you, if you just do that, if you do the work, if you enjoy the process, if you commit what's required, you're going to have many, many, many more days like this, many, many bigger outcomes like this. And that was the whole impact. He was able to help his family. What more could you ask for, Dave? If that doesn't drive us to give and produce the best content, give the best strategies, continually strive to impact our community and everybody who's soon to come, I don't see any more reason than that. And that's just me being honest.
Yeah, and the more you do this, the more simplified it becomes, because reality is the market makers are doing all the research and all the difficult part for us. We're just identifying the phases, right? Phase 1, accumulation. We're just tracking that. We're watching it. We're screenshotting the prints. We're creating a database on all the prints. We're as a community collaborating on certain areas where they're accumulating. We're setting price targets based upon what the market makers have to make. Setting realistic timelines for when they need to make that. And it's the pattern that ultimately always repeats. The market makers have to make money, right? The only thing that could be a little bit tricky, I think, is the timing, right? I think that's where it comes down to becoming on the day trade side. If you want to become a master day trader, you have to become a master in timing of market makers releasing their positions, because it's really the same concept from day trading to the longer term. It's just far more shares, right? From the market makers day trading a position to them setting up for a longer term swing accumulation, something that's months out, right? It is done the exact same way, just in a longer time frame. And that's the beauty of being able to understand the strategy, because you can go from a micro viewpoint to a macro viewpoint, and you can play both sides of it, right? I don't know how many times, in the past, me and Doug have day traded something and then ultimately turned into a swing. I mean, that's how most of the swings start, as day trades, right? We're day trading and we see all this money and we understand, okay, they have not made all their, they haven't profited on this position fully from a day trade side of point. Let's see if this translates into a swing opportunity. And it does. And now it becomes weeks, months of accumulation and then further release. I mean, look at PLTR, right? Like, same concept. So, that's the beauty of this process and tape reading, is you can do it from the day trading side of things, day trade it, and then it turns into a swing, and then you can swing it. And then it's just, there's ultimately no greater strategy when it comes to knowing what the market makers are going to do ahead of time than, tape reading in this method. So just to kind of transition from there, Doug talked a little bit about the option side of things and the courses that are going to be coming. Those are going to be coming this coming Tuesday. So stay tuned. That is going to be the first series that Doug is going to put on. Those are free. Just join the community. That is going to be free to everyone at the current time being. There's really no reason you shouldn't join. There's absolutely zero risk in any form. Ultimately, you're going to be learning a lot about tape reading, and a lot of people are coming in and they're implementing it into their strategies. I mean, if it works, it works. But ultimately, I think this is one of those things that you come to when you learn the strategy and you realize that there's no other, approach that you need to take outside of this. You can do your research and add all that on top of it, but ultimately it becomes such a small percentage to add to your trade than the actual prints themselves and being able to follow a market maker. So I wanted to end a little bit more on what to expect on 2025. Obviously, courses next week. It's going to be a series of 2 weeks. And then from there, if you wanted to chat a little bit about what they can expect coming after that, Doug, and what we have envisioned, and Millen, if you want to add on that as well, the vision we have for after these courses and what 2020 has in store for us. Because a lot of companies out there, they make money off of teaching first. In reality, we've been, trading and tape reading for a very long time, and this is our foundation.
Absolutely.
And ultimately, this is not a front run for us to make money, right? This is ultimately, we've discussed this as we're creating this massive tool for us to be the best traders we can be, and if other people can benefit from it, then it's just even better.
Well, look, I don't usually do this, but I'm going to do this. We're really not here to make money when certain things like my father's account. Yeah, I don't think we're here to make money at all. So the reality is, and it was funny because I was asked this by a really good friend of mine, a very high-end realtor, and she goes, "Why are you even doing this when you're at that level where you're making stupid money?" And I said, because as I keep saying, life is not just about the money. It's about what can it buy back for you? What can it free up for you? How can you help? So just to tie it back in, and by the way, when he says next week, February 11th, 2025, 2 weeks straight, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, 11 a.m. Eastern time, projected 90 minutes, so that's 6 sessions. It will be a full breakdown of my option strategy, which I've been developing for years, based upon prints, and there'll be Q&A afterwards. I mean, it is very interactive. That's the only way to learn. Why is this option strategy for me so important over the day trading? Because let me just be completely honest. It took me 11 years to get here. Dave has been doing this for 6, 7 years plus. The reality with day trading, so that we all can put this into honest context, you need to have, 1, a lot of capital, 2, a lot of time. You cannot be a day trader and have a full-time job. It's just not impossible because you need screen time. You need to be able to sit there in front of your computer from 8 to 4 and literally absorb yourself in all these movements and shakes and changes and adaptations, which fortunately for most of you, you don't have to worry about because I did it for 11 years. Dave has done it for 7+ years. Millen's been doing it for 3+ years. And they can tell you, as much as they love it, it requires a massive commitment. There's a lot of rigors of it. And one thing that we realized is a lot of these wonderful students that we knew in our past communities, friends of ours, not everybody has the ability to do that. Not everybody starts at a point. I was a successful businessman. I could carve out time. Dave comes from a very successful background. Family's very successful. He's a CFO of a huge company his family owns. He was able to carve out time. Millen, the same respect. Not everybody has that. And I thought that's why it was hard for a lot of people to succeed in day trading. It's easily the hardest method to learn because you're literally learning and seeing the people that move markets. So, for instance, if you think about what Dave just said, he said, you're watching the prints come in as they're acquiring. Well, let me tell you what he means by acquiring. He means you could see a massive institution, hedge fund, or bank, or what have you, acquiring 1, 2, 5, 10 million shares of a stock through a given day, week, or time frame. Well, if that was $100 stock and they bought 10 million, that's $1 billion outlay. If they bought 1 million shares of $100 stock, that's 100 million outlay. Do you think there's any form of research that we could do that would ever account for the amount of resources that they underwent before taking a position of that size? So when I look at what is your highest percentage return, it's following that. It's following that over an options or a swing of somebody who has committed multi millions to a position, but more importantly, you're watching them control it. I'm not saying at any moment, Dave, that stock is going to stay at the price target it went to, but I will say to an extremely high percentage, over 80%, that it needs to get there. I didn't say it needs to stay there. I said it needs to get there. Now, what have I learned in the last couple of years as I've developed my system is how we can understand if a stock is finding a new price point and valuation depending upon how it's progressed as a company or an industry. So when you learn this strategy, all you're going to be responsible for, which I will teach you, is how to read prints, how to read accumulation and time frame, and then set whatever instrument or tool you wish to use, whether that's options, whether you want to buy shares. I mean, we have loads of students right now, Dave, who are buying shares, and even Millen himself, he's buying shares.
I've been buying shares.
He's now learning the option strategy, but he's buying shares. I am 100%, I repeat, 100% an options trader and a day trader. I do not swing shares. Why do I buy options? Very simple. Because I backtested my strategy that I created so much, and the percentage is so high that I can commit. So if for instance, there's $100 stock and you want to buy 1,000 shares, how much money do you have to put on the line? $100,000, yes or no? Well, in options, I can control 1,000 shares, yes, for a limited time frame, but I might pay $2,000 for it. So I get to buy far more options, controlling far more shares at a fraction of the cost, but yet my return is incrementally 10, 20, 30 times more than you're buying. So everybody has their own method. But this is something that I've seen in 3-4 months. How many students organically that we now have, Dave, that we've never taught before are all messaging me, messaging you and saying, oh my word, I can't believe this. I made 700, I made 1,200, I made 300, I made thousands. All I look at that and say is, I see through their joy and see the amount of effort and help that this is going to have for themselves and the people that they love. That to me is everything. So it was about creating a strategy, and we did that. We are day traders. I've been doing this for 11 years. I've seen everything that you don't have to see. And I wanted to create something that would be so easy for the masses to be able to do and still be able to work their way, have their jobs, whatever you may have. So that was really the reason behind it.
Yeah, and this tape reading method, all these years of going through the tape and it being complex to us and asking all these questions of why they're doing what they're doing is really simplified within these courses. And, if you are tape reading, if you're interested in tape reading and you somehow come across this, you're going to know that all these teachings of tape reading are far too complex. And a lot of these tape readings don't even, courses or information don't even have the foundation of the market maker within the tape reading. They just see it as buy, green, go, red, stop, sell, whatever. And that's just not how it works, And I think genuinely think we're the only community out there that reads the tape, through the lens of the market maker and shows you every strategy in terms of their phase and how that correlates to their price target. I don't see any other community that does that knows how to do it. It takes years of.
Well, let me ask you. Sorry to interfere, but I have to.
Yeah.
And this is nothing. And if you guys have noticed one thing about the way that us three as founders are, and even me as a master tape reader, I'm never, ever going to talk anything negative about anybody else. Good luck to you. All I care about is that everybody has a responsible ideal when they're teaching, when they make that promise to students, when they join their community. I hope you're responsible, because I feel very, very accountable for my students. I will not lead them astray. And this is what I find very interesting. Please, could you all stop uploading videos after your trade? Go look at my videos. I tell you what's going to happen before it happens. We can all cut and paste and show the good times. I want to see the honest reality. If you go back and look at any of our videos, OKLO for instance, there's buying between 10 and 20. Well, as of this time today, it hit 59 on Friday. If you looked at my dad's account, that's OKLO. That was a $6,200 investment that right now is at $82,000 profit. That's not BS, that's the truth. So all I say to anybody out there is, please feel responsible and accountable for being honest. You have people's lives, you have people's futures, you have people's, hard-earned money, and I take that personal, because everything I have, I earned myself, and I earned it the honest way. And the only reason us three are together is because of that. Honesty, integrity, trust, loyalty, that stands here first and foremost.
If I may interject, it's funny, you remind me of something. It's looking at these videos of other traders, other teachers, it's similar to what you used to tell us, or you probably will still tell students in our elite sessions, was don't be a commentator. A lot of these videos are literally commentating. They're looking at their screens like, okay, this broke a level, I'm in, or whatever. Whereas we as traders, you trade, you create a plan, and you're supposed to have that plan before the trade even develops. So it's just funny to see that if you see these videos for yourselves on Instagram or YouTube, they're literally just commentating. They're not telling you what's going on, what's actually the mechanics of their play and how it's going to develop or what's going on. So that's just something to be mindful of. If you're a newer person getting introduced to trading, just think very commonsensically.
That's the trap of new traders, right? They see that on Instagram, right, Millen? And they're just like, oh, I want that. I'm in it. Like, it's so easy. They're just a line that they use and they buy above the line. Like, if that's what you want, that's a path to quickly blowing an account into failure.
What do I always say about that, Millen, is when you look at this and you're looking at a chart, first of all, why does the chart look the way it does? Because of a market maker. If you see those bars and you see all those things, that is done because someone controlled the stock, and that is how your chart was drawn out. The problem I have with a chart is very simple. It's already happened. So if you're basing the future on what's already happened, who's going to base the way the future looks? The same one that showed you how it happened. See, what we teach you, in essence, is when you learn prints, you are now, as they say, riding shotgun with a market maker. Who's got the best position in the world? He's taken on all the risk of multi millions of dollars. Yet he's opened up the car and say, do you want to ride with me? And just, if you follow me correctly, you get to reap the rewards that I do. I call it the biggest highway robbery ever seen, apart from, which I will always say this as an avid reader, the biggest robbery that most people don't understand is you can buy a book for $20 and gain years of insight and knowledge from someone. I see market makers as the same way. It's highway robbery that we are allowed to learn how they move stocks. But the fact it's legal and we're allowed to do it, I'm not complaining. Are you, Dave? Are you, Millen? Because I see the way you both living and I don't see you complaining.
Yeah, that's the last thing I'm going to complain about is market makers. Maybe for 90 whatever percent that fell are going to hate it, but the few that know how to follow are going to live very fruitful. And I think that really is a good transition into our final things of what to expect for 2025 for market making strategies. Obviously, we have a chat room that's free. It's going to be in the link in the description. There's really no, you can come, investigate yourself. If you don't like it, then you don't have to be around. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter to us ultimately. Yeah,
absolutely. We're putting this whole strategy out, Dave, as you said, to close this out, is completely and utterly free.
Yep.
We're not here to hide nothing from you. Come see it for yourself. I don't make nothing. Dave makes nothing. Millen makes nothing on free. In fact, this, if you technically, cost me a lot because of the hours that I put in. Dave, a lot. The amount of hours we're putting in to provide this for our students and our community is unbelievable, and we love every aspect of it. The beauty is, following the first ever strategy session that we're going to be teaching over the next 2 weeks, everything after that is full on case studies. It's now applying what you learn. It's not, hey, this is what you should do, go figure it out yourself. No, we're going to work together. This is a community. And then we're going to be looking at these stocks, because remember, some of us are day traders. We're forever in the market. We're finding the new plays all the time. We're seeing the new acquisitions and acquiring all the time. And we're going to be creating case studies. And that's going to be a huge part of it. You're saying, right, now look, there's this new company. We're seeing all this acquiring, blah, blah, blah. Let's interject. Let's put this into our strategy. And every week we'll update the case study, see what's the new buying, if there's new information, a bit of very basic 7-point analysis of the company. Has anything in the market shifted, in the economy shifted, industry shifted? So you guys are going to be part of a course and strategy that we are going to take place together. You don't see that anywhere else. You're not going to see that anywhere. So all I tell you is, the worst thing you can ever do in life is to assume you know how good or bad something is. Biggest mistake humans make. You should always, you got one life. You should always want to see what's around the corner. Doesn't always mean it for you. But you're never going to know, you're never going to be heightened and enlightened to what could be and the possibilities that may be in front of you if you don't take the opportunity, if you don't take a chance, if you don't risk it. Don't fear it. There's nothing to fear here. Go watch all my old videos. In fact, at some point, Millen, I want us to upload some of those elite sessions that we did so they can see all these sessions that we did and the depth that we got to. But more importantly is, the proof is in the pudding. Go on YouTube, look at the videos that have been uploaded. You'll see us talking about strategies. All you're going to see for the next year is an honest commitment to show you that if you do the work, if you put in the time, and it's going to be so much easier because now it's options. It's not the day trading that us three did, that you can benefit and reap the rewards for yourself and the people that you love. And that is, to me, is what the mission statement really is here, is to allow people the freedom to be able to change the trajectory of their life.
Yeah, absolutely. And just to kind of wrap it up, add a couple things to expect in 2025. We're just going to keep with the chat room, automating it, improving the flow of things. We're going to implement print tracking. We understand that some people can't be at the desk all day, right? And they want to know what the accumulation is at the levels in certain stocks. And we're going to be able to implement some print tracking automation within our website. We're going to be developing a website, case studies like Doug mentioned, and updates. Those are going to be frequent, and they're going to be hands-on learning from the courses and applied material and collaboration as a team. And I will also take a role in creating some fundamental tape reading concepts, because there is some slight understanding that you need to have just to be able to understand and take advantage of the courses themselves. Like what's tape, what's money flow, what is an execution, what's above the ask, what's below. So there's concepts and nuances that need to be studied, and they're more fundamental information that I'll be implementing and putting it out there. And let's see what else. Millen, if you don't forget,
we also have, we're so committed and strong about what we do as tape readers, what we do in day trading and options and swing and what have you. But at the end of the day, it's an open community. We have channels for crypto. We have channels for Forex. We have channels for everything. Come, express yourself. Feel like you're part of a community, part of a family. At the end of the day, that's what it's about. And then as you get comfortable, you'll realize, please come on in, see how we're doing day trading, how we do our option strategies, how we do such things. But it's an open community. We welcome all.
Yeah.
I think lastly, for everyone out there, this is an extremely passionate group. If you notice, within a few days' time, Doug, Dave, and I, even other students, we are there every morning. We'll send you good morning texts probably more often and frequently than your own family will. And that's how committed we are. And I think the value also lies in our members, our students who've been here for 5, 10 years. And they will help condense your knowledge and your experience into just a few short questions. They're there to help you out. So just to leave you with that, MMS is a place where, we're accountable. We come with the best energy and the best mindset because we're trying to deliver the utmost value to all of our members. So I just want to leave you all with that.
Yeah, there's a lot to come. I'm sure we'll have plenty of announcements of the topics we're implementing. We're working on branding, so there's a lot going on, and we're in no rush to throw a product out there. This is we're developing this from the ground up in terms of every single step. We want it the way we envisioned ourselves being introduced into tape reading and trading, and we would kind of view it from that point, from the student's perspective, and we're not rushing a product out the window just to get some sales and income in. That's not our goal. It's not our mission. If that was the case, this would already have been launched. But in reality, we're taking it slow, one step at a time, and we're really creating what we're passionate about and the vision that we have long term, rather than just something that springs up and is not going to be around for a while. This is going to be something that is going to be a tool, that's going to last a very, very long time and help many, many students become successful traders. That's all I have, unless you guys have any final thoughts and comments.
Yeah, so just to leave it off on one thing, and this is something that I always speak on, is in many things that we do in life, and I touched upon earlier, there's so much that is out of our control. The beauty about the stock market, and as I always say when I'm teaching my students, is the stock market is a mirror into yourself. You can go into this fully committed, fully ready and passionate, and you can achieve what you want to achieve. And the reason that we took our time to do this, the reason that we made sure that we were very successful, consistent traders ourselves, is so we can teach you about the psychology aspect. So when our podcast starts, there'll be a lot of conversation. You'll hear mostly it's about the logic behind it, the discipline, habits, and psychology, and something that has not been seen, which will be coming out, and where right now we have a trained therapist who helped me become the trader I've become, who we've been now conversating with and creating pathways with, and we'll be introducing at some point this year classes and free sessions and podcasts with our therapist who will help you create the mindset that a trader really needs.
Any final thoughts, Milan, before we close this out?
I'm all good.
All right, and that'll conduct our first podcast with Market Making Strategies. Appreciate everybody that's made it thus far, and hope you join our community.
Thank you.